What's happening, guys? Scott from a Hornet's Nest. Welcome back to episode 20 of Tutorial Tuesday. It's so good to see you. I hope you've had a wonderful week. I hope you've been able to build on your cockpits, and we have an awesome tutorial for you today. I want to show you how to get your screens or your viewports exported using some real simple Lua code, and we're going to do it with our AMPCD. I was busy building it. I thought to myself, well, why not get you an episode going on how to get the screen working, and then by the time you've got that all sorted, I'll have another episode ready for you of how to get the rest of it working. But I think this is going to be a really cool one, and if we look at the time, I need to head to the airport in about 7 hours, so let's smash out a quick tutorial and then I'll be able to edit it while I'm away. So what do we have here? The first thing is, and it's probably my most favorite, our good friends at PCBWay have sent me a beautifully milled aluminium bezel for the AMPCD. Incredibly smooth, great finish, and was at a reasonable price for the product that you're gonna get. The screen we're using today is from the team at BuyDisplay.com. They've been kind enough to sponsor this episode, and it's the exact screen that you see in the files and recommendations from Open Hornet as well. It's about $30 to $40 depending where you are. It's an incredible screen, cheap, but it's functional, and it really does look quite good. If we turn the AMPCD over, we've got the HDMI controller at the back. We've got a little controller board to adjust brightness, contrast, and color. And then we've just got a 5-volt connector. So you don't actually need much for this episode. You don't even have to have an AMPCD built. All you need is a screen. And you can even use a second computer monitor for the purpose of the tutorial. You don't have to go out and pause your life waiting for one of these screens to arrive. So let's get into it. Let's plug the HDMI in. We're also using a StarTech 4-in-1 HDMI socket or a converter. It's going to take USB input and make it into an HDMI output so our screens work. That way, you're not busy clogging up your GPU or all your HDMI ports. So let's get into it. I think it's going to be a really good episode. The first thing you want to do is set up your displays. We are going to be running multi-monitors, and I'm going to give you a bit of an explanation of my display setup. That way you can understand it and then transpose it into your display setup. On your main desktop, you want to right click and you want to click Display Settings. And it's going to give you the screen where you're going to be able to rearrange your displays and change their orientation. If we go Identify, we've got Display 1, which is my primary 2K display. Display 2 is off to the side as a 1080 display. That's why they are two different sizes. And then we have Display 3, which is our little 600 by 1024 display, which is our TFT screen here. Well, let's just have a look at it. Oh, before we keep going, I wanted to show you this. I left this top button out here, just so you can see what the switch looks like. It is a backlit LED green tactile switch. So when we laser engrave the identification push button marking on it, it's gonna illuminate that nice backlit green. So yeah, that's what those switches look like. They're about $2 a switch, but they are really lovely. So let's get into it. Let's get these screens up and running. DCS will always prioritize display number 1. It's gonna be generally your nicest screen, your biggest screen, and that resolution that you put into the game references what display 1 is if you're not running multi-monitors. Now that's gonna change for us, and I'm gonna teach you why. Well, we're not really putting anything on display 2. That's what you'd be having Discord on, or any like manuals or anything like that. But now we've got display 3. To keep it simple, I'm just going to give you a blanket statement of don't have screens splitting your DCS viewports. You can, it's just going to get messy. So let's drag our number 3 just to the bottom. You want to keep it in a nice little square or rectangular format. That way, when DCS is referencing the origins, which is the top left of DisplayPort 1, you're not going across blank area or no man's land. Well, we've now done that, but we can see here on this display that it's not orientated correctly. Why? Because if you click Display 3, the recommended resolution is correct, but the orientation is wrong. So let's change our orientation to Portrait. Well, that's gone and inverted it just because of how the screen has been installed. And this is the way Open Hornet wants you to install it. So let's revert those changes, and we want to select Portrait Flipped. And now we've got the orientation how we need it. And let's go Keep Changes. Well, let's actually Move that back. And that is how we're going to orientate it. We're going to have display 1, and then we're going to have a portrait version of display 3 aligned to the left. That way, when we are referencing the coordinates, and I'll show you that once we get into the dot lua, it's going to make it a whole lot simpler. Well, that's pretty much us done. Double check you've got extend desktop to this display. That way you're going to be able to easily see if your display is working and if it's orientated correctly. Now all we have to do is tell DCS how to project to that display. Let's talk about what DCS does. DCS will push an image to your screen referencing an origin or a point where it knows where it is in time and space. That point for us is the top left corner of display 1. DCS references everything off that corner. If there's one thing you can take away from this, the point on the top left of display 1 is the origin. X equals 0, Y equals 0. Now remember those numbers because they're going to come in handy. So if we want to tell DCS to do something, we need to tell it where to put that piece of image, reference 0 and 0, or the origin. Well, let's go and see how that works in DCS. Using Windows E, let's open up our File Explorer, and we're going to go to our DCS install location. Mine is on the D drive, DCS Open Beta, and we want to go to Config. We want to select Monitor Setup, and we're going to see that we have a couple of different presets, and they're the presets that you see in the game. Do you have 1 screen, 3 screens? Do you want to push a DDI to one of them? These are all the presets. Now I'm going to tell you to grab this one here. It's called LMFCD plus camera plus RMFCD. LMF and RMF is just the right multifunction and the left multifunction color display. It's just saying, hey, you might want to be exporting some of these viewports, and DCS knows what you want. So let's go Control C and Control V, and let's rename it to AHN cockpit. Beautiful. And we're going to open that up in Notepad++. Lovely. Let's zoom on in so we can have a really good view of it. Now, to anyone that doesn't know coding, and even myself a couple of months ago, this looked complicated, but I'm going to try give it to you in a simple form. That way you can follow along nicely at home. And by the end of it, you're going to be creating as many viewpoints as you want. So let's just have a look here. Top line, don't worry about it. It's just saying that it's functions, returns, and ends. The name is what we want to change. Let's call this one AHN cockpit. And I'm not going to put any spaces in there. Sometimes it doesn't like spaces. We're just going to call it AHN cockpit, and that's the preset we're going to select once we are in the screen. The description is really just saying, what is that preset? Well, we want to say that it is the main display and it is the AMPCD, because that's all we've got so far. And then as we add to it, we're just going to add to the description so we know where we've coded up to. And now we start the viewports function. The center viewport is the game screen. It is nothing to do with our external screens. It's got nothing to do with maybe the AMPCD is in the center. The center in this piece of text is referencing your main monitor or the game's display. And it's got X equals screen width divide 3, Y equals 0. Well, the X and Y is what we just spoke about. If we open that picture back up where I'm going to show you and we're going to add graph lines to it, display 1, top left corner equals 0 and 0. Now it's got some clever things here. It's got screen width divide 3 because it thinks there are 3 equal screens, one on the left, viewpoint in the middle, one on the right. You divide the total screen width by 3, you get that exact pixel. Now that's complicated. Let's hard code it. And I know you're saying, Scott, you told us don't hard code it, but here we are. We are hard coding it this time just for simplicity. Our center, if we look at that image, viewpoint 1 starts on the left-hand side. It is left aligned. That's why we aligned them that way. X equals 0 and Y equals 0. The width and height of our center is asking, how far do you want DCS to project this? You might want to project it over 2 screens. You might just want to project it over 1. Well, the width is what our screen is. So if we go back to settings, we click viewpoint 1, our width is 2560 and the height is 1440. It is just a standard 2K monitor. 2560. And we're gonna go 1440. And the aspect, let's delete this again. Our aspect is 16/9. It is a 16:9 ratio. That's the center done. It is as simple as that. We have just told DCS we only want our main game screen on display 1, and we've gone and hard coded that in. Well, now we've got these options here of left MFCD and right MFCD. This is now telling DCS, hey, that left multifunction color display, I want to place it here. If we just look at the left MFCD for a moment, and I'll tell you where that name comes from soon, X equals 0, Y equals 0. Well, if we remember what we spoke about X and Y, DCS only knows what the top left is, and that is 0 and 0. So if we just had to export it as it is here, and we made the height and the width correct, but we're just looking at the X and Y, X equals 0, Y equals 0, you are going to get an image that looks like this. Because we have told DCS, it's doing nothing wrong, we have told it to start the viewport left corner at 0 and 0. DCS only knows what the left-hand corners of each object is. So we need to find a way how to calculate where to actually put it. Well, let's give you two examples. If we go and expand our graph screen here, we can see that we've got 3 monitors. We've got our right-hand monitor and we've got our lower bottom monitor here. X is along the X-axis. If we wanted it to be in the top left corner of display 2, X would be how many pixels from the left-hand side of display 1. Well, we know that display 1 is 2560 pixels wide. It doesn't know that there might be spacing or bezels, it just purely thinks it's aligned. So therefore, if we want to put this on display 2, X would start at 2560. And that is our left MFCD. Well, if you then wanted to add the right to the same screen, you would just calculate how wide you want it. Now, for us, because we are using these bottom screens, we're just going to use a standard figure. Our bottom screen is 600 wide, right? So our width for the left MFCD is 600 and our height is 600. DCS exports it as a square. So that way you're not going to have any aspect ratio issues. And let's say our right MFCD is 600 as well, because we want them to be the same size. And remember, you can scale these however you want. Don't forget that. You might want these at 300. It is 600 pixels wide, 600 pixels tall. Now remember, 600 pixels on a 2K screen is different to 600 pixels on my little screen here. So just that is the height adjustment. It is not a measurable unit, it is purely pixels. Well, if we want to pop the right MFCD on the furthest right-hand corner, we know that the furthest right-hand corner of our second display would be 2560, and then it's 1920 across. So therefore, the right-hand side of the second display would equal 4480. Now we know the width of our export is 600, and remember, DCS is silly, it only knows the left-hand corner. I wish we could just say, hey, reference the right-hand corner and make it easy for us. But we know to get where the left-hand corner should be placed, it would be 4480 minus 600. Now, you don't have to calculate that. You can just use it as a function, 4480 minus 600. And there we go. It's going to give you an image that looks like this once it is all exported. Because DCS has said, hey, you want these displays here? I'm going to take away your ability to see all your documents in your Discord because you've told me that that's where you want me to display game footage as well. And anything that doesn't have an export will just show up as black. Well, let's show you where to get these names from because we are missing one. We've got the left, we've got the right, but now we need the center. Now, how do I know it's called the center? Well, it's intuitive that it's called the center, but I'm going to show you where to find it. Let's open up File Explorer. Let's go back to Open Beta in our install location, and we're going to go mods. We're going to select the aircraft we want, that's the F-18, and we're going to go here to cockpit. We're going to go scripts, and we can go multi-purpose display group and MDI, is where the DDIs are, and AMPCD is where the AMPCD is. We go indicator, and we want to open up the file called viewport_CFG. If you look down here, this is the line we want to find, where it tells it, try find the assigned viewport center MFCD. So let's go and copy and paste that. That way we know the spelling's correct, and now we can close it. And that you can use for any module. You can use it for the Apache, the F5, the Tomcat, whatever you want to use, you will find a file of some sort that references try find assigned viewport. Well, we don't really want to care about the left MFCD and the right. So let's delete the right, and let's just replace that name with center. So all it's going to do now is display the AMPCD on that second display, but we don't want that. We want to display it down here. And now that we know how to calculate where to put that top left corner of the viewport, let's see how we can go and pop it on this screen here. So let's open up our graph. It is key that you draw this out. It is quite confusing to do it in your head. If you're that smart that you can do it, great. I'm not. So let's go and open up our image here and calculate where we want to pop this viewport. Remember, we know that display 1, the top left, 0 and 0, and we've aligned display 3 on the left-hand side. Therefore, the most left pixels along our external display, X would equal 0. But how do we know what height to put it as? Well, let's go and make X equal 0 because we want it aligned along the left. And Y? Well, let's go calculate it. We know that display 1 is 2560 by 1440, so it's 1440 tall. Display 3 is 1024 tall. So you add those together and you're going to get 2464. It is 2464 pixels tall, the total displayable area. Well, 2464, we know it is 600 pixels tall. How do we know that? Because we've told it that it's 600 pixels tall in height. So therefore Y equals 2464 minus 600. If you don't want to add it as a function, you can just add it as a fixed number, which is 1864. Beautiful. Would you be surprised if that is it? That is as simple as it gets. Now, one last thing, because we are going to add more later on. If we want to calculate this position now, and this is why you align them on the left, you don't just have this number 3 floating, because you don't know where it sits in time and space. We know that if we added a fourth display here, it starts at 1440 on the y-axis and it starts at 600 on the x-axis. And you just keep calculating down, you keep drawing it, keep Tetrising them, and it's going to work out really well. Well, that's about it. Let me actually add a little bit more in this description, and I'm just going to give the screen resolution. This is the displayable area that DCS knows about. Because remember, we want to keep our second monitor for Discord. We want to keep it for opening up a Chuck's guide on a new aircraft that we're flying. Don't waste your monitor. So we know that its resolution, so we just go res is 2560. This is 2560 wide by 2464 tall. That way, as we keep adding, we keep knowing what the resolution is and we don't have to keep calculating it. That's about it. That is it all done. So let's show you how to get this up and running in the DCS world, and then we are good to go. But first thing, press save. And in Note++ or Notepad++, the save icon will be red if changes have happened. It will be green if it is saved. And then we can go and click DCS. With DCS loaded, we want to go to the top options cog, and we want to be in the system view. We want to change our resolution. Now, what was our resolution for the displayable area? It's not display 1, but if we go back here, is the 2560 by 2464. Well, we can't find a nice 2560 by 2464. So all we've got to do is click on the right and we can create a custom one. So 2464. This is the biggest thing that will cook you if you don't go and do it. You would have done all this, you would have followed some tutorial online, they wouldn't have told you to change this because they think in their mind that it's easy and it's what you do. If your export is not working, you're seeing black screens, you're seeing a weird format, this is why. You haven't gone and changed the resolution. And while we're here, we want to select our monitor preset, and that is AHN Cockpit. And we want to go and save it as a custom profile. And that's at the bottom right, and we just go click save. That way, when we want to switch between the two, we don't have to keep typing these numbers in. We press OK, and it's going to reload the game. And once it loads back up, the first indication you know the coding has worked is our screen at the AMPCD goes black. Because DCS is saying, hey, I don't actually have anything I want to export down to edges yet, I'm just going to display it on display 1. Let's go Incident Action, F18, and let's just go free flat. Now the first indication you should get is the AMPCD will generally load, or any of your screens will generally load before the main display does. So if you see that, you know you are on your way to success. There we go, press fly. Let's just chuck an autopilot in, barrel hold, attitude hold. Beautiful. Let's just have a look here and hide. So there we got it. It actually looks incredible. We've got the moving map. The moving map on this looks way better than it does in the game. It just looks the best. You've got really low latency regarding like lag time. You can just click around and things are looking up. Yeah, this is just the coolest. Like, honestly, it just doesn't get better than this. Let's bring the range down and let's pop it back in the map. Scale it back out a bit. Yeah, look at that. Well, at least I now know where I'm going on missions because we've got this. I like the post the other day said, prematurely install it, but it's not painted yet. And look, I might even just leave it like that because it works, it's cool. It is very, very cool. So that is it. Now, I wanted to show you one last thing. Before you go, if you want to go, feel free to go. But if you want to stick around just for the Apache thing, there is something I want to show you. If we open up our file explorer, finder if you're on Mac, but open up your DCS library again, go to mods, aircraft, and if this is only pertaining to those that have this, Apache was the first one I saw it happen on. Go cockpit scripts, and let's go to displays, and we want to go to the TEDAC, and we want to go to the TEDAC's viewport config. If we zoom in, have a look here. Remember how we just had try find assign viewport center MFCD? But this one is saying, hey, try find TEDAC first. If DCS can't find TEDAC, then use the center MFCD. So instead of having to call it that in your scripting, we might just want to assign it on a separate monitor called TEDAC, and then center MFCD might be something else as well. So have a look at that. That is just, if you run into this with your module and you see 2, just use whatever it uses first. If it doesn't work, then it will try find center MFCD. So yeah, that is the tutorial done. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you found it as simple as I thought I was making it. If you have any questions, always feel free to comment, shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or just hit the comments. I will try even further simplify it for you if you didn't quite understand what's going on about. But yeah, tip for you is draw it out. Get a big piece of paper, graph it out, assign the different values, and it's gonna make it a whole lot easier. So yeah, that's actually really cool. I'm just watching it still turning, and yeah, it's the best. So go have a good week. Enjoy your week ahead. Enjoy your flight simming. As always, stay safe, and I will see you in the next episode where we finish painting the AMPCD, and then we're gonna go install it. And then I think we're gonna go into the avionics. That's a big circuit board we've got to go get. It's a 4-layer power breakout board, and it's gonna power the whole pit. So stay tuned for that. It's always a pleasure. I'll see you in the next episode.